Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayani Amba Tvam Anusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshini Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavai Vedai Sangha Padakramopanishadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Navastita Tadgatena Manasa Ashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam navidut sura suragana Devaya tasmai namaha Tasmai namaha Om Shri Ganeshaya namaha Om Shri Saraswatyai namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo namaha. Hari Om. My humble pranams to all. So we are almost done with the 15th chapter. Today we will discuss the last 3 shlokas. And then next week I will try to summarize the entire 15th chapter in detail, go each verse at a time and give a bird's eye view of the whole 15th chapter. And also why the 15th chapter is called Shastra. Remember in the beginning of when we did the first shloka, I mentioned 19 points have to be there to call a text a Shastra. So why all 19 are there in this 15th chapter? We'll talk about that. So far we have studied in this chapter that there is the Lord who is the supreme source of this universe, called the Urdhva Moolam, the upside down root, where the root is above, the tree is all of us, and the Vedas are our nourishment for this tree of this samsara. And one has to stay detached from this samsara, not get too bound. And that's why Bhagavan says, Asanga Shastrena, just as a tree can be cut down by the axe of strong axe, so detachment is required. And then Bhagavan talked about his abode, Natad bhasayate surya, shashanko na pavaka, where the sun and the moon cannot illumine. And that because I am the source of all illumination, whether the sun, the moon, the fire, electricity, everything is illumined by me. And then Bhagavan Sri Krishna told us about us as a jiva. What am I? I am, even though I am a small part of that supreme, but I somehow think myself to be separate. And then I get caught in this world of objects, with the sense objects getting akarshati, senses and the mind getting caught and not able to progress. So Bhagavan says you have to have sadhan chatushtaya nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha sanghegi gachantya muda padamavyayam tat. Those who have these qualities of lack of arrogance, wrong knowledge is gone, and they have a clear understanding, such people reach the highest goal. And then Bhagwan had told us about two kinds of people: those who put effort but do not put effort in the right direction, do not put effort. They work, but they don't accomplish that final goal. But yogis who put the right effort with the right guidance and in the right direction, they reach me. And they are called Jnana Chakshu, those who have the eyes of wisdom. And then Bhagwan had said that I am the light in the sun and the moon. I am the one that nourishes the plants. I give energy to the plants and I nourish them. And I am also the Vaishvanara, the digestive fire within each one of you. And then in the last week, we had studied that Sarvasya Chaham, but not only I am that, but I am the most subtle. The subtlest thing in us is the mind and the intellect. And I am in your intellect that is guided by wisdom. That is the Hrit, that is the heart. That is where I am, and that's where I abide. And I am the one that is the knower of the Vedas, and I also create the Vedas. And then we had heard this technical word, Kshara and Akshara. He says there are two Purushas. Kshara is the destructible or perishable, and Akshara is the imperishable. Bhagavan says, even though I am one, Brahman, one consciousness, but I play the role of this Kshara Purusha, this Kshara, destructible Sharir. And as Akshara, I am the substratum, Kutastha. I am the substratum on which this whole natak of this world is going on me. Just as a river runs on the bed, which is unmoving, which is stationary, same way this world runs on me. But as Uttam Purusha, I am beyond both. I am beyond Kshara and Akshara. Uttama Purushastvanya Paramatmetyudakritaha Yo Lokatrayam Avishya Vibhartyavya Ishvara. So I am this supreme consciousness, but as a supporter of this world, I am known as Ishvara. I nourish and I support it, but actually I am beyond. And this world is an illusory Maya, which is created by Ishvara. So this is where we had stopped last week. Today we'll do shlokas number 18, 19, and 20, where Bhagavan tells us more about who he is, how he is beyond all this Kshara and Akshara. And then the last two shlokas are, ke mujhe isme kya milega? What will I get if I study this scriptures? Will I get any benefit? So Bhagavan explains very beautifully, which is called Phala Shruti in Sanskrit. At the end of every text, the teacher will tell us that what is the phala of this Shruti. Having heard Bhagavan, what is the benefit of that? So that is how this whole chapter flows. And then next week, we'll see how this chapter is complete and how it covers the entire Bhagavad Gita. So we'll do that next week, spend some time in revising and reviewing this chapter. So we'll do shloka number 18. Satish Bhai and Varsha Ben can please chant. Chapter 15, shloka 18. Yasmat ksharamati toham.
Yasmat ksharamati toham.
Aksharadapi chottamaha.
Aksharadapi chottamaha.
Atosmi loke vede cha
Atosmi loke vede cha
prathitah purushottamah. Okay, I think your internet is fading. We'll all chant together.
Pratita
Yasmat
Purushottamaha
sharamatitoham aksharadapi chottamaha atosmi loke vedecha prathita purushotamaha. Yasmat. Yasmat means therefore. As therefore, I am Ksharam Atita. Atita means I am beyond. I am beyond Kshara. Kshara means this destructible world, destructive world. Atito Aham. I am beyond this perishable world. And how about Akshara? Are you beyond Akshara? Yes. Aksharat api chottamaha. Aksharat is the fifth case. Beyond Akshara. Uttama means even beyond, higher than both. So I am beyond Kshara and I am higher than Akshara. Uttam means higher. Ata, therefore, in that case, Asmi, I am what? Loke and Vedecha. So in this world and in the Vedas, Cha means and, Prathita, I am called as Purushottama. I am called as the Uttam Purush, the Supreme Purusha. Purusha here does not mean man, but Purusha means as the consciousness, because they had talked about Purush and Prakriti, matter and spirit, but I am beyond both. I am Uttam Purush. I am even beyond the spirit. Beyond that, I am that supreme consciousness which alone is playing the role of Ishvara, is playing the role of Prakriti, Purusha, Kshara, Akshara. All roles I am playing, all animals, birds, plants, everything I am playing those roles. So when we say that I transcend, what does it mean by transcend? People always say in meditation, you should transcend your mind. You should transcend your intellect. So what they mean is mind and intellect can only think, mind only can think about emotions and known things, what I know. Intellect can think about things that I can imagine. Say like when the apple fell on Newton, he tried to figure out why this apple fell. So beyond the known knowledge, the intellect can go beyond to understand what is not yet happened. You know, all the new discoveries, inventions, all the literature, science, art, everything comes. But still, the intellect can only work on the basis of what it already knows, and on that it can build. But transcend means where the mind and intellect cannot reach. So this cannot be known by mind and intellect. If it cannot be known by mind and intellect, then why is all these literature written and why are we sitting here studying the 15th chapter? Because Bhagavan says, when you go beyond the mind and intellect to that truth, you understand that that is infinite and that is my true upper higher nature. So that understanding can only come through the scriptures, that there is one which is beyond. So intellect and mind is the only tool I have to study. See, when I go to a teacher, what do I use? My intellect. And the teacher also is talking to my intellect. So all conversation happens in human words, but all those are indicating the truth, which is beyond words, which I have to experience in the silence of my meditation. When I surrender my mind to the Lord, then he reveals himself as me. So that is a revelation. That is not something I can achieve by myself. All I can do is quieten my mind, surrender it with the right understanding. I sit, and then the Lord himself reveals, or herself, whatever the form of Lord we are worshipping. So that is called to transcend. So this also tells us that what is the purpose of my life? What is the purpose of studying these scriptures? Why am I on this earth? That is what so far we have studied in the 13th, in the 15th chapter. And majority of the people think that the purpose of my life is to earn money, take care of my family, have children, build a house, and then die at the end. And unfortunately, when this becomes an obsession, where yes, we have to take care of our family and house and all that, but when this becomes an obsession that this is all my purpose in life is to achieve worldly success, material progress, then we have all the conflicts, we have all the difficulties, we have all the violence, we have all the wars where I am trying to make myself richer, myself more powerful, myself more successful. So when material gain becomes the purpose of life, then that leads to problems. And what do we do? Who are our ideals? We put our ideal as the one who had the most power, or who was the richest man, or who has the biggest house, or the president, or some people, who especially youth, we make ideals of who, sports stars and, uh, movie star. Not that anything wrong with that. It's good if somebody is successful in movies, successful in sports, successful in the world. That is good. But when that alone becomes the motive, and we will see in the later shlokas, then we have not accomplished our purpose in life. That's why they say, what should you make your ideal? Great Mahatmas. How Shankaracharya ji lived his life, how Narsi Mehta lived his life, how Mirabai lived her life, how Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda, how much he accomplished. So those should become our ideals. And how Bhagwan Sri Krishna lived, how Sri Ramchandra ji, even living completely as a human, how he lived as a perfect human being and did whatever was required. So those should become our ideal. So in my life, I should try to live like Sri Rama. I should get the knowledge of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. I should listen to the saints and make them my goal, because that is what the Vedas also tell us. The Vedas reveal to us that this truth is your highest nature. That's why Bhagwan says, Vedanta Krit Veda Videva Chaham. The Vedas are not written by any individual, but were revealed to the rishis. But even though this knowledge was revealed, they still had to speak in human words. So the knowledge is a guide, but it's not the ultimate truth. So, but that is the only guide we have. So we use the guidance of the Vedas to reach the highest. And for that, a very clear understanding of what I am seeing, what I am studying, where I am going, what is my purpose. All that should be very clear. And ultimately, I should understand that I am not this limited body, but I am that supreme consciousness, which we will also talk in the next shloka. So how to know what I am clearly seeing, that is very important, clear understanding. So this reminds me of a story. So this couple was getting on the plane for the first time. They had never flown on plane before. And so they sat on their seat. Husband had the window seat and the wife had the middle seat. And husband sat down. The takeoff was a little delayed, so he took a short nap. And then he wakes up and he looks out of the window and he says, oh my gosh, they say, people look like ants. That is true. Everybody down there looks like ants. Wife says, you fool, they are ants. We haven't taken off yet. So, so one should have a clear understanding of what we are saying and what we are doing. So that is called right knowledge. But you have to have your equipment right. See here, if your equipment is eyes, with eyes you can only see the visible world. The mind can only see the world of emotions, the intellect of the world of thoughts. But one has to go beyond, as in Puja Gurudev's chart, beyond OET, is the Om, the consciousness, and that is what is all pervading. So that is shloka number 18, where he says, I am beyond this kshara and akshara, and I am the Uttam Purush. Uttam is the highest. We'll do shloka number 19. Yo mam evam sammudaha
Yo mameva sammudaha
janati purushottamam
janati purushottamam
sarvavid bhajati mam
sa sarvavid bhajati mam
sarvabhavena bharata.
sarvabhavena bharata.
Okay, all together. Yo mam evam sammudaha janati purushottamam sasarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata. So he says, O Bharata, O Arjuna, yaha. Yaha means whoever that person may be, young, old, male, female, doesn't matter. Whoever that wise person is, mam, me, evam. Eva means in this way, as I have explained. So we'll talk about that. Asammudaha. Mudaha means one who is deluded. Sammudaha means one who is completely deluded. I don't know, some places they say that, but you can translate. But asammudha means one who is not deluded. So asammudha means one who is not deluded. When it comes, so a person who is not deluded, not confused, what happens? He or she knows me, janati, knows me as Purusha Uttama. He knows me as the Uttam Purusha. And Sa Sarvavit. So such a person, Sa means here such a person, Sarvavit. Sarvavit means becomes all knowing. And then what does this person do? Bhajati Mam. Such a person worships me. Sarva Bhavena Bharata. O Arjuna, he or she worships me in all respects. Sarva Bhava, continuously worships me in all ways, with his body, mind, intellect. You know, they say tan man dhan sab tera, tera tujhko arpan, kya lage mera. So he worships me in all respects. So evam, mam, of course, Bhagwan has already told many times, I am that Uttam Purush, that supreme consciousness who has manifested on this earth. And evam, so who knows me as that and knows himself also as that. See, that one alone has become all this. So I am not separate from that. When everything is Brahman, everything is God, all the mountains, plants, trees, everything, humans, animals, then I am also that. And there is no difference in my body, mind, and intellect. I am little and the God, Ishvara, is big. But as the essence, as the substratum, the consciousness, there is only one appearing as many. So that is called evam, one who knows me in this way. Asamudha. Mudha means deluded. Who is a mudha? Mudha who thinks I am this body and I am separate from God. I am this body, I am separate from all. And this body alone is real, the world alone is real, and my job is to enjoy this world and accomplish as much as I can in this world, get whatever I can. And that is called mudaha. So thinking myself to be this body and functioning, I have this body and I need the body to function, but to only take care of the body is delusion. There is a very beautiful story of Kuranjana. Some of you may have heard. It's an old story, but it's worth repeating. So Puranjana was this young man who had a friend called Avijñata. Avijñata can be translated as unknown. So, but that was his friend's name. Avignata, and they always were together. They were never separate. And it so happened that one day they were passing outside a beautiful city with 9 gates, beautiful, all very pretty. And Puranjana said, I must go in that city. And he leaves his friend who had been with him for many years. He goes in the city and he sees this beautiful girl coming, most pretty, dressed in all gold and jewelry and all that, very beautiful girl. And the city had 9 gates. She had 11 guards around her. And there was this snake which was carried, which had 5 hoods behind her. So the snake and the 11 guards were protecting her. Most pretty girl, and there were thousands of soldiers all around that kingdom. And he saw that girl and he completely fell in love with her, and he starts talking to her, and she likes him too. And so they get married. He said, will you marry me? They get married, and then they are just spending time in sense pleasures and enjoying themselves and neglecting what is the work of the kingdom, neglecting that. And after a few years, they get attacked by an enemy king called Kalan. And he is advised by a very older lady who advises him what to do. And so this Kalan, this enemy, attacks this kingdom and completely destroys everything. And Puranjana gets killed. I mean, he dies. And even when he's dying, even though he has been living with his wife, they call her Puranjani, he's still thinking about her when he dies, and he dies. Next birth he takes, he's born as a woman, because whatever the last thought was, that is what you will be born. So he's born as a beautiful woman, and he grows up and he marries this king. I mean, of course, it's a she. She marries this handsome king, and they lived happily for a few years. And then the king says, I'm done, Vanaprastha, I don't want to rule the kingdom. He retires. So he gives the kingdom to his son, goes to the forest to meditate. And Puranjani, because she was not Puranjani, I don't remember her name, but this girl who was Puranjana follows the king. She's still madly in love with the king. And the king ultimately is done, and he gives up his body. He says, I don't want to live anymore. He's done. And she's crying and she's sad, and she lights the fire, for the king. And now she's ready to jump in the fire again, because how am I going to live without my dear husband and all? And this wise old Brahmin comes and he tells her, what are you doing? And she's, I can't live like this anymore. I'm going to die. I miss my husband, and I have. Brahmin tells her, he says, remember who you are? She says, who am I? I am this. He says, no, you are Puranjana. In your previous birth, you were Puranjana, and you died thinking about your wife, and you were born as a lady. And now you will think about dying, thinking about a man. You will be born again as a man. So what are you accomplishing? What are you doing? Life after life, you are just chasing objects and things. And in your previous life, you were just chasing after sense objects, and you were. So she said, how do you know all that? How do you know my previous life? He says, I am Avnignata. I am your friend whom you left outside the palace, remember? And then suddenly the whole thing comes back to her, because he reminds her. And she says, I am your. So Avijñata means the unknown friend. That is the Lord's presence within us as conscience, as life. And that I am, and I will always be with you, and I will never abandon you. So she understands her mistake, and then she takes up a life of renunciation, following the advice. So the thing is, we are like that Puranjana. And what is the city of 9 gates that we get caught in? The 2 eyes, the 2 nostrils, mouth, 2 ears, 7, and reproductive and excretory organs. So we are caught in this city of 9 gates. And who are the 5 snakes? Are the 5 pranas that protect this body. And Puranjana is the jiva who is caught in this body and enjoying sense pleasures. And the 11 guards are the five sense organs, the five objects of action, and the mind. So these 11 and the thousands of soldiers are our thousands of thoughts. So beautiful symbolic story how the jiva gets caught. And this Puranjani represents the intellect. The intellect, instead of guiding, the jiva gets herself caught. Buddhi, buddhi is feminine. So buddhi, instead of guiding him, herself gets caught. And that's what we do. We spend our life, one life after another, only enjoying sense objects, caught in this world. And only when the wisdom comes in the friend guise of our friend, avijnata, which is the scriptures, which is God's presence, then we wake up to this truth. So it's a very beautiful story which describes all of us. We are all Puranjana. None of us is out of that. And that is a beautiful story in the Bhagavad that kind of tells us how we should live our life and how we should not live our life. See, that is very important. So that's what Bhagavan says. One who knows this is Vedavit. He is the knower of the Vedas. And Sarvavit, he is all knowing. So he said, once I know Bhagavan, I know everything. He says, yes. He says, you mean I can start talking Russian and French and Chinese? And will I know nuclear physics, quantum physics? And will I know? No, not that. What Bhagavan means is Sarvavit means whatever is necessary to be known, this person will know. Yat nyatva bhuyonyat nyatavyam avashishyate, knowing which there is nothing more to be known. This is the ultimate knowledge. After that, it does not mean the person will stop learning. Yeah, I mean, a realized master, if you say, okay, you start telling him about something that is happening, he will say, okay. You say, you want to go to Yosemite Park to see the waterfall, he'll say, okay. But he does not have the fascination because he's already accomplished the highest goal. So whatever comes, he will read the paper, maybe he will, do whatever is necessary, but without getting caught because he already has known the highest truth. And we'll talk more about that. And he has understood the infinite, then no finite thing can give him joy. And he understands that that is me, that is my true nature, that is the subject, that is the knower. So it is not something to be known outside, but something to be experienced inside as I, the real I. And that alone is expressing as all. So then what happens? This person develops universal love, loves all, everybody as me, oneness. That oneness that all the masters talk about, the teachers talk about, is experienced by him or her, because when I am that consciousness, then everybody is that consciousness. So that ability to see myself in all and all in myself, one in all and all in one, that is the hallmark of these wise people, these Mahatmas. And that's why they even love people who are, giving them a hard time or torturing them, because they are established in that truth and do not get disturbed from that truth and love all. Now, talking about loving all, I just wanted to take a little sidetrack. Loving all starts first by loving myself. See, I have to love myself, honor myself, and have love and compassion for myself. And we are always taught you should love others, have compassion. That's very good. But we are not taught that I have to love myself. Love myself means not selfishly, but as that I am also a child of God. And whatever I am that's how I am supposed to be at this time. And it becomes hard for people, especially for ladies. I would like to remind you that we do not accept ourselves as we are, and we always say, why am I not, why can't I do this, why can't I do that, why can't I lose weight, why can't I memorize shlokas, why can't. So we always criticize ourselves, but you have to start by loving yourself, that I am a child of God, I am created by God, and as I am good. Does not mean I don't try to improve, but I am fine. See, that should be the number one for all of us, not only for ladies, but for men also, because we all feel that if this thing happened, then I would be happy. If this thing happened, then I would be good. So, and also we have to see that everybody has different strengths. Somebody may be good in one thing, but then another person may not be. So focus on what I can do well and do it well, and do not try to imitate or copy anybody else, because each and every one of us is God's creation. That's my mother used to say, every child is a new thought of God. So God has very lovingly created all of us. So I am good, I am perfect, and I do whatever is required. We are not saying that you don't try to improve, don't try to become better, but start by accepting yourself. Only when you love and accept yourself and have compassion for yourself will you have love, compassion, and acceptance for others. So it starts at home. पहले आप पहचानो रे साधो, पहले आप पहचानो, बिना आप चिन्हे पार ब्रह्म को कौन कहे मैं जानो. A great saint Prana ji had said that first know yourself, love yourself, accept yourself, and when you know that you are that child of God, then you see the whole world as child of God. So I kind of deviated from the topic because I think this is very important. What do you mean by knowing myself, loving myself, and having compassion for myself as much as I have compassion for others? Women from childhood intrinsically are more loving, compassionate, giving to others. And you see that all the time, but it has to start from within. So that is my little, I had read this recently, so I thought I would cover that. So that is what he says, Sasarvavit bhajati mam sarva bhave na bharata. So bhajati here, of course, part of it is chanting God's name, doing puja, praying, but bhajati also means worship him and carrying him throughout. So in every action becomes a prayer. So every action of that individual becomes a prayer. And that's what Gandhi ji also said, that Hari, you see Hari everywhere. That's why he gave the name Harijan, that every action should become an action of service. So Sarva with Bhajati Mam, and he is all knowing because there is nothing more to be known. And Sarva Bhavena, his body, mind, intellect is always in me. With the body he serves, with the mind he loves, and with the intellect he tries to know me through the Guru and reduces his vasanas and becomes one with me. So that is called Sarvavit, and that is called Asammudaha, who knows me as supreme consciousness, and every action of his becomes a seva. That's why they say that is true seva is to see this world Ashtamurti Brit Deva Pujanam. So he says, what is worship of God? See this world which has 8 Ashtamurti. What are the Ashtamurti? The air, space, fire, water, earth, mind, intellect, and ego. So all of us are made of 8 things: air, space, fire, water, earth, mind, intellect, and ego. So Ashtamurti Brit. So this whole world is made of this 8 form, Ashtamurti Brit Deva Pujanam. So serving the world is puja. And the world is, and if you see anything and everything is made of this 8, even plants, they have a very subtle intellect, not very advanced intellect, but they also have intellect. They have mind, they have an eye, but it is not as developed as humans. It is there also in dogs, even in mosquitoes. Everybody has this. So that is this world, Ashtamurti Brit, and that is service of this world is Deva Pujanam. So that is the benefit of this person who has known me as Purushottam. Bhagavan says, now we'll do the 20th shloka, which further he will talk about this glory of this knowledge of this 15th chapter, shloka number 20. Iti guhyatamam shastram
Iti guhyatamam shastram
idamuktam maya nagha
idamuktam vayanada
etat buddhva buddhiman syat
etat buddhva buddhiman syat
kritakrityascha bharata.
kritakrityascha bharata
Together, iti guhyatamam shastram idamuktam maya nagha etat buddhva buddhiman syat kritakrityascha bharata. So he addresses him as Bharata, O Arjuna, iti. In this way, iti means he's summarizing. Iti guhyatamam shastram. Guhyatamam means guhya means secret. Guhyatara means more secret. Guhyatamam means most secret. Shastram. So this most secret knowledge has been revealed to you. Why do they mean secret? We'll talk about that. Secret does not mean it should not be told to others. And a lot of people misuse this word as saying that, oh, this knowledge should only be given in Sanskrit, only be given to Brahmins. No, that's not what Bhagavan means. But so we'll talk about. So he says this most secret knowledge, idam uktam, has been told. It's a passive voice. Idam uktam, by who? Maya. So by me, this knowledge has been revealed, has been spoken. O Anagha. Anagha means the sinless one. So he calls Arjuna as the sinless one, which is a great compliment. And etat buddhva. Etat means this. Buddhva means tva pratyaya means having known this. Once who knows this, having known this, buddhiman syat. Such a person will become buddhiman. May you become buddhiman by knowing this knowledge. We'll talk about what is buddhiman. May you become that. And kritakrit. And such a person has accomplished what he came to accomplish. Cha. So this person not only has become buddhiman, means become wise, but also has accomplished whatever he came to accomplish. O Bharata, O Arjuna. So the word Bharata is a very beautiful word which Bhagavan Sri Krishna uses a lot in the Bhagavad Gita. Bha means knowledge. Rata means one who is engaged in knowledge. Bha actually means light. So here it means the light of knowledge. And Rataha means one who is constantly engaged in the pursuit of not worldly knowledge is good, but mainly refers to one whose mind is constantly engaged in the pursuit of spiritual knowledge, spiritual excellence, what we call as creating his spiritual personality. That's why our country is also called Bharata, because that may the citizens of India, may they be engaged in this pursuit of knowledge. So that is the meaning of Bharata. And then he uses another adjective for Arjuna, Anagha, sinless one. So what is sin? So Gurudev in his commentaries often will say sin is not the action, but the reaction. What is the result of this action? So if I do an action and it creates any doubt, oh, I should have done it or I should not have done it, and I still go ahead and do it, or it leaves a guilt feeling in my mind, I cheated this person, or I got angry, or I lied, or I did something. So whatever reaction, if it leaves a bad reaction in my mind, then that is a sin. So that's what he says that do the actions as per the Shastra. Tasmat Shastram Pramanam te karya vyavastitau. Nyatva Shastra Vidhanoktam karma kartum arhasi. Bhagavan says, let the Shastra be your guide, and using that pramana, do what you have to. So if an action leaves a negative residual in my mind, that is a sin, that I shouldn't have done it, it was wrong, or if I'm afraid that I'll get caught, then those actions are sinful. And Arjuna, that's why his name is Arjuna, Arjavam, because he was straightforward. What he thought, what he spoke, and what he did were all in one, always together. And that's why he was said the sinless one, because his mind was always stationed in God. And that's why Bhagwan revealed his, Virat Roop to him, because Arjuna was very straightforward, very truthful, and was a friend of Bhagwan, and more important, surrendered to Bhagwan. He says, Shishyas teham shadimam tvam prapanna. I do not know what is, you guide me. And then he requested, Bhagwan, please show me. Or so for this knowledge, we have to be willing to give up everything, surrender to the Guru, surrender to the teacher, to God, and then ask for God's grace, ask for God's blessings. And so not ask for more this, more that. Oh God, may I. That's why in Ramayana, when you ask any rishi, Ram says, what blessing should I give you? He says, may my mind never go away from your lotus feet. Any rishi, you look at Atri rishi, you look at anybody in the Ramayana, it is so amazing. We have been listening to Tejomayananda ji, Guruji, and if somebody would like, every Tuesday, 7:30 to 9, very beautifully, how each character in Ramayana is so unique and so amazing, how they all have devotion for Bhagwan. So that is the message. So that's what Arjuna had. And then Bhagwan says it is Guhyatamam Shastram. It is the supreme secret. Secret means, does not mean it should be revealed. In fact, Vedanta's main goal is to remove our ignorance. So thousands of scriptures have been written. There's hundreds and hundreds of Upanishads that some of them we don't even know. There is a Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Puranas, all the Prakaran Granthas, Vivek Chudamani, and this and that. All of them are destined to reveal the truth to us. And why is it said to be a secret? Because despite all these scriptures, we still don't get it. Itna material has been given to us, but we don't get it because they say you will not get it on your own. You need a teacher. And that's why we are thankful to Puja Gurudev, Swami Chinmayananda ji, who translated all these from Sanskrit to English. So you and I could understand this knowledge and apply that to our life. So until a teacher reveals it, it remains a secret. Also, it means that unless you put the right effort to understand, this will remain a secret. So that's why they say this knowledge is mysterious. It is not as simple as just 2 + 2, 4 math, or going to a college or going to a university. Also, as we had talked before, by studying physics, you don't become physics. By studying chemistry, you don't become chemistry. But by studying spirituality, you have to become spiritual. You have to change. Then only this knowledge is useful. And how can we constantly remain in that knowledge? Because as Gurudev says, the world will keep giving us, joys and sorrows, problems, but ever remain stationed in that understanding, I am consciousness. And always remind yourself, I am consciousness, and this whole world I am seeing is also consciousness. See, we forget that. And right now it is very clear. And same thing happens to me. When I get up from meditation, my mind is quiet. And then you go out in the world and then you start seeing people and then your mind. So constantly reminding myself that whatever I am seeing is that one God alone. One Bhagavan alone is appearing as all and as me. So when I have that understanding that I am that consciousness, then world will give us joys and sorrows. There is nobody whose life will not have. But he says, okay, joy has come, it will go. Sorrow has come, it will also go. And even if it doesn't go, it's I am not this. I am that conscious. So the more you remind yourself, then it's not that the circumstances will change. Gurudev says, don't change the circumstances. If you can change, fine. But more important is change yourself. Once you change within, the world can throw all the stones it wants, all the problems, let them come. Okay, it is coming to the body, body is meant to have this. It's coming to the mind, mind is meant to suffer. That is the nature. One day will be happy, one day will be unhappy. So the person becomes a witness and watches how this world is going through its drama. Like when you watch a movie, or there's a hero and heroine, and then the villain comes and he takes the heroine away, and then she's crying, and then the hero goes and beats 25 people by himself and rescue. So all this you see, but it's not real. So same way in this world, there is this movie going on, let it go on, but I am not. And such a person is said to be Buddhiman. Buddhiman means who has true knowledge. Like they have word, Gyanvan, who has lot of knowledge, Dhanvan, who has lot of wealth. So Buddhiman means who has buddhi. So buddhi means intellect. Everybody in this world has intellect, right? Every human being has intellect. But are they all Buddhiman? No, there's a difference between having intellect and becoming intelligent. So Bhagavan says, Etat Buddhva. So one who knows this alone is Buddhiman. You and I, we may have intellect and we say, oh, I am intelligent. No, but unless you know this knowledge, you cannot call yourself wise. You cannot call it intelligent. Worldly smart we may be, you may be street smart. And a lot of people are very smart in the world. But am I clear in this knowledge? That is very, very important. And that is Krita Kritya, and that is called mission accomplished. In the movies, when the spy captures the bad guys and brings them in, then they have mission accomplished, the end. So if you want to have behind you written mission accomplished on your gravestone, then say, have I known this truth? Then only it is mission accomplished. And people say, I have achieved so much. I have climbed up to Mount Everest. Okay, I have made, this many billions. I have this company, this house. Okay, very good. I am the first woman who has flown to Mars. Okay, that's good. But Bhagavan says, you may have done all those, but you have not accomplished the mission for which you came. Krita Krita. So human birth is for, yes, all those accomplishments are good. We are not criticizing them. But the only purpose of human birth will be accomplished when you know this truth. Then you are done with whatever you came to achieve. And there is this, shloka, Atma chet vijaniyat aham asmiti purushaha kimartham kit kasya kamaya shariram anusvanjaret. So Upanishad says beautifully, Atma, one who has known this Atma as me, chet vijaniyat aham asmi iti purusha. Once this individual has known that, kimartham kasya kamaya shariram anusvanjaret, then why should he bother his body running after this and that, and ho gaya, there is no more purpose left. Whatever remaining life, he lives a life of service, helping others. But he says, I am done. I don't need anything more. So once this person has understood this, then Bhagavan says, your purpose on earth is served. Now, once you drop this body, you live with me. You become one with me. There is no need for you to take more birth. And even if such people are sent, they are sent by Bhagavan to teach us, like Shankaracharya ji, in by age 5 or 6, he was writing commentaries on, Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads, all these great masters, Raman Maharishi. So all these great teachers who come to teach us are those who have sent by Bhagwan himself. So that's what we say, that we are so blessed that this beautiful 15th chapter was revealed by Bhagwan himself to us in the Bhagavad Gita. And it's very short. It is only 20 shlokas. And I have said that before. I would request everybody to please try and memorize. See, as I said, it takes 3 days to memorize one shloka. So go slowly, one shloka at a time, memorize, then make it pakka for 3 days. Don't rush to the second. After 3 days are over, once that shloka is memorized, then second shloka, then third. And 20 shlokas will take 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, doesn't matter, but understand with meaning and try to chant it as often as we can. As I had said in one of the earlier talks, this is a letter. If you want to write a letter to Bhagwan, chant this 15th chapter and he'll say, Mil gaya. That is the love letter if you want to write to Bhagwan. So that's why this chapter should be understood, should be memorized. And that's what he says. This secret knowledge I have revealed to you. And once you know it, you will become Buddhiman and you will have accomplished everything you came to accomplish. So that's what Bhagwan says. I am beyond this Shara and Akshara Purusha. I am the Purushottam. And one who knows this lives a life of continuous service to me. So we'll do the closing Om Tat Sat Iti, and then we'll have time for questions, comments, discussions. And then next week, as I said, I'll give try to give a reasonably detailed summary of the 15th chapter, why it is called Shastra. And then we can introduce the 16th chapter, maybe do the first shloka if we have time next week. Om Tat Sat Iti.
Om Tat Sat Iti.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su.
Upanishatsu.
Upanishatsu.
Brahma Vidyayam.
Brahma Vidyayam.
Yoga Shastre.
Yoga Shastre.
Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade.
Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade.
Purushottam Yogo Nama.
Purushottam Yogo Nama.
Panchadashodhyayaha.
Panchadashodhyayaha.
So we'll just translate. We have done it after every chapter, but Om, Tat, and Sat. These are three gods' names. There are many names, thousands, but Om is the closest to connect to God. Om is like saying hello. When you say Om, then Bhagavan will answer. And Tat, that supreme consciousness, is this supreme consciousness, this whole world. And that is Sat, that is the truth. In this way, Iti, in this way, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So in this revered, most blessed Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is nothing but the Upanishads, it is the essence of the Upanishads. And itself, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is it can be considered an Upanishad. Why? Because it has Brahma Vidya. In this Upanishad, in this teaching, is the highest knowledge of the eternal Brahman. And it is a Yoga Shastra. Yoga Shastra means not only it is the knowledge, but how to live this knowledge is explained in this chapter. And where did this appear? Who was the one? Sri Krishna and Arjuna Samvade. In the dialogue of Sri Krishna with Arjuna appears this 15th chapter, Panchadashodhyayaha, 15th chapter called Purushottam Yoga Nama. So the name of this chapter is Purushottam Yoga because Bhagavan has revealed his own nature as the supreme self. And so we are very blessed to be able to study this 15th chapter. And it is if you go to any Chinmaya mission camps or retreats, before lunch and dinner, they always chant the 15th chapter. So it is the one that Puja Gurudev had instructed us to memorize and to chant. So we'll end here. We have time. If anybody has any questions, comments, anything they would like to add.
I would like to say something. I think this is, in this chapter, Bhagwan has given us the, what I call Jadi Butti of life.
Right.
He tells us who he is. He tells us who we are. He tells us how he sustains us as well as the world in general. And why and how we should know ourselves,
Yes.
our true nature, and why and how we know him.
Right.
So I think this is like a complete package of life.
True.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Lata, go ahead, please.
Anagha, that is sinless. So would nagha means sin?
No, agha. Agha is sin. Anagha
Agha
means
is sin. Okay.
agha is sin. So anagha. Anagha. An means not. Anagha.
An means not. Agha is sin. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I was not sure. And when you, how do you define the term Purushottam? Is that, it's not Kshara, it's not Akshara, but it is one beyond that.
Right.
Is that what you are?
Yes, it is the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Consciousness. That one consciousness, which is Advaita, which is non-dual, is appearing as all this.
Right. So
appearing,
it's given different terminology, or it's described differently. But in this particular chapter, in last few verses, it's called Purushottam.
Right. Purushottam.
Okay.
Right. So you have to see the context where it is used. You know, the context, the word Purusha and Uttama, how it is used. Yes.
Right.
Like the word Brahman, it can be for the Supreme, or Brahma can be the creator, you know, so many different, you know, and Brahma is also said to be the Vedas. So the word can have different meanings. So we don't fix on the meaning of the word, but see the context in which it is.
Okay. Right. Yeah, you have always advised us that.
Right.
Look at the context.
Context. Every word has different meanings based on the context.
Okay, thank you.
So Anilji, in this context, the word sinless, can we say our true self is also sinless?
Yes.
It is.
Correct?
It is.
Without it, Niranjana.
It is. Just like how he refers to Arjuna to be that.
Right, right. Oh yeah, our Arjuna still was a human, but our true self is Niranjana. It is uncontaminated. It is unaffected, because that is who we really are.
Correct.
As long as you are in this human body, you know, there will be some defect, some, you know, nobody in this world is perfect. Except, of course, the, you know, the avatar Purush, whether Sri Ram or Sri Krishna, how they manifested.
Even they show.
But even, you know, they have, you know, situations and all, but their actions are perfect. But truly sinless is the Atma, the self, the consciousness.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Anything else?
It's beyond.
Yeah, Carrie, go ahead, please.
You know, I was thinking, you know, in verse 18, the Aksharad Api Chotamaha.
Yeah.
Does that refer like to the Jiva?
No. No. Aksharat api cha uttama. I am beyond, higher than Kshara and Akshara. Uttam means above. The Jiva is what he has mentioned from Shloka 7 to 11. That is the Jiva in this chapter. 7 to 11. That is the jiva. Here, aksharat apicha uttama. I am beyond kshara and akshara. I am the supreme consciousness. So Bhagavan is revealing his nature, that the supreme consciousness, Brahman, has manifested on earth as this Purusha. With all this,
Like world is perishable.
Right.
then
Yeah.
Bhagavan is imperishable.
yeah, the
But
supreme
it
is
beyond God.
supreme is imperishable, beyond all these, all that.
Well, I didn't review it, but I remember that they talked about the jiva being imperishable.
No, the jiva is not imperishable. The jiva, as the consciousness, is imperishable, but the body is perishing and his mind and intellect is constantly changing. So jiva is perishable, but his essential nature is imperishable. Everything is imperishable. Even the plant actually is Brahman, then the plant also is imperishable. But the body will perish, but the Atman will not perish. That's why Bhagavan says, na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Then you are never born and you never perish. So actually we were not born as the consciousness, but as this individual called Kerry. Yes, I am born and I have a name and a form and a sex and a nationality and all those. But the one that is formless, that is the substratum, is that consciousness.
I forgot what verse it was, but there was some verse where they kind of talked about the jiva being imperishable, but I was thinking of it being more like, well, it's imperishable until you transcend it, until you gain the knowledge, but it can kind of go on and on and on forever.
Yeah, our nature is imperishable. Yeah, and the jiva also goes on and on. In that way, yes. We have gone through thousands and millions of births. So yes, the subtle body will keep going through birth after birth, but actually that is just a role it is playing. And until you realize the truth, yeah, but that is not truly, I mean, in a way it is imperishable because it goes on and on and on, but that is suffering. To go through birth after birth after birth after birth and again in the mother's womb, and then, staying for 9 months and all that. So yeah, actually everything is imperishable. That's why they say matter cannot be destroyed and energy cannot be destroyed, physics says, but all in the world of this kshara world. But actually the only imperishable is that supreme consciousness, which is
even beyond perishable.
It is beyond perishable, imperishable, beyond all these. Yeah, they are all concepts of the comparative. They are concepts of the intellect, as Neeru said. Perishable and imperishable are just concepts of the intellect. That is beyond all concepts.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, thank you.
True imperishable is that.
I have a small question.
Go ahead, Veena.
And thank you very much for the beautiful session, very eye-opening one. And you made a comment or statement like, I am the pure consciousness or supreme consciousness, and we have to keep practicing that or reminding ourselves that, and also that all that I'm seeing around me is also consciousness. So can you please give some example, or just for beginners, or how to put it into practice, or just you give practical examples always, so just simple.
Thank you. I think you can start. It is easier to become a bhakta, that I am, say, a Krishna devotee, or I am a Lord Shiva devotee, and everything is Krishna. You can start by that because the effect is in the effect is the cause and the effect are the same, right? Like mud becomes pot. When pot breaks, where does it go? Back to mud. It doesn't become silver. Pot doesn't become silver. Mud pot will become mud pot. So, and whether it's a pot or a saucer or a plate, or, they are all mud, right? All clay, which all this China. And it is came from clay, sustained in clay, and merges back into clay, right? Clay alone becomes all these pots. Gold alone becomes all these ornaments, whether it's necklace or bangle. So when you see the name and form, you see, okay, necklace and bangle and all are different, but the essence is gold. So same way in this name and form, my Bhagavan is there. So you can start out by saying, Bhagavan, oh, I see you in everything, so that is easier. And I see my Lord in everything because he is the creator of this whole world. So you start with that. So when you say the end, everything came from Bhagavan and merges back into Bhagavan, right? The world, even the whole universe merges. So just as pot came from clay and merges back into clay, even while it is a pot, even though it looks different from clay, it is clay. You may color it, paint it, red, blue, red, but it will, and then whatever you are touching in the pot, you are touching clay. So similarly, everything has emerged from Bhagavan, sustained in Bhagavan, and then merges back into that God. So you can start out by that I am Bhagavan's devotee, I surrender, and that is much easier. It is very hard to say I am that consciousness. But then you extend it further. Like if you ask the pot, are you mud or are you pot? Pot will say, well, I am mud, but right now I am taking the form of pot. Suppose the pot could speak. Or a plate, you could talk, she would say, well, my name is plate, but actually I am mud. So similarly, when I speak, I say, actually my name is Anil, but I am that supreme consciousness because I have come from that.
And everything else.
Everything, not only me, means everything has come from that. And it's
in me.
everything is in me, Bhagavan says. And then everything merges back into me. That's why the 11th chapter, he shows himself and the whole, not only the universe, but past, present, future, all these worlds, also the higher worlds, lower worlds, everything is me alone. That's what he shows Arjuna in the 11th chapter, Uttam Purusha, that supreme. And so even though I look different, but my origin is that. So the effect and the cause are the same. Just as mud and pot are the same, gold and ornaments are the same, you and I also are that, appearing as this name and form, having a name of Veena, a female, living in California. So all these are my conditionings, my descriptions. But my essence is that. So that is that clear?
Yeah, thank you. Very clear. Thank you.
And then this will be continued throughout as we listen to Bhagavad Gita more and more. These ideas will become clearer and clearer. So the next chapter, Bhagavan will talk about how people who worship me and how they live, and how those who don't, how they live. So the two kinds of people and all that. So this idea will become clearer as the more you listen. But thank you for your question. Very nice question. Thanks. Anything else? Okay, we can do the Aarti. Om na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kuto yamagnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. We'll do Gurudev's Aarti. Arati Shri Chinmaya Sadguru ki Devya Rupa Murati Karuna ki Arati Sadguru ki चरणों में उनके शांति समाए शरणागत की भ्रांति मिटाए पाप ताप संताप हरण की आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की वेद उपनिषद गीता को गाया धर्म सनातन फिर से जगाया शुद्ध नीति प्रीति शंकर की
आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की, आरती सद्गुरु की। सिद्ध बाड़ी की तपो भूमि में, नित्य विराजे गुरु हमारे। भक्त हृदय आनंद श्रोत्र की, आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की, आरती सद्गुरु की, आरती सद्गुरु।
बोलिए श्री रामचंद्र भगवान की जय, श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Thank you very much. Hari Om. Thank you all for your questions, comments.